Well, some highs, but mostly lows. With our two best O-linemen out, there wasn't much Love could do about it. But the Raiders are next, so let's talk about that with you on this episode of your Packers Fan Podcast.
What's up, Packers faithful? I'm Scott Clark from the Gaming Outsider Podcast, and I'm not surprised we have bad news from the Lions matchup this week. Still, the season is far from over, and the Packers are still in second place. I guess we'll just have to try to exact a revenge against Detroit closer to the end of the season.
I'm all set for that already, but there are a few games between now and then. Me, podcasting since 2005, I'm Wayne Henderson, and I want to remind you to always believe. Even if you don't have a prescription for glasses, keep those green and rose gold ones ready virtually or however you got to do it. Think positive. This is episode 279 of the Packers Fan Podcast. This time around, we got to recap that Packers loss to the Lions, but we have some amazing listener feedback to share with you.
Also, Wayne and I will preview next Monday's Packers game in Las Vegas, including my keys to a Packers victory over the Raiders. And let's jump right into it with our leaders in the Lions game. It's going to be kind of short-lived with the positives for this game, but we're going to do our best. Jordan Love, clearly the leading quarterback on the team. 23 out of 36 pass attempts for 246 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 interceptions. This one's depressing. Aaron Jones was our leading rusher with 5 carries for 18 yards. Yes, you heard that correctly. Romeo Doubs had 9 receptions for 95 yards. Christian Watson did have 1 awesome touchdown catch, which we'll get into more later. Quay Walker, though, I think was the biggest standout for the defense. He was credited with 19 tackles, 10 of them being solo tackles. So he had quite a day. Yeah,
if he can keep that up, he can help carry the defense during some of these rough times.
Mm-hmm.
As far as highlights, you just got to love Rudy Ford getting an interception on the 3rd play of the game. I mean, granted, Scott, we only got a field goal out of it, but I'll take it, and it should have paved the way to victory.
Yeah, it was a great way to start the game, and it was a beautiful catch. I was just amped up and excited. All right, like this game's going to go our way. Mm-hmm. I really thought that was going to swing the momentum in the Packers' favor. It's like, okay, maybe we can pull this off, and that was kind of where the good stuff ended for the most part. The rest of the game was not so good to watch. It was kind of painful to watch, but what you gonna do? I guess I can say on a positive note, our punter was pretty awesome. Daniel, is it Whelan or Whalen? I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name. I can't remember, but he had a total of 5 punts, and the average was 51.8 yards, with his longest being 57 yards. Every time he kicked, I was like, holy cow, where'd this guy come from? Let's just keep this up, because there was just no chance for returns on those really high and long kicks. So that was a good thing.
Well, in answer to your question, where did he come from? He's Irish born.
Ah, okay.
And so his name is probably pronounced different in his homeland as well as
probably mispronouncing it.
But that's okay. That's okay. If he can keep kicking like that, we're going to be on quite a roll. And you talked about Christian Watson's touchdown earlier in the game, and I got to say, wow, because he was more wide open than I think Christian's ever been in his entire life after that 86-yard drive, capping it off with the touchdown. A great way to turn things around at the beginning of the second half. I was starting to think to myself, especially after the 2-point conversion, could we do it again this week?
Yeah, I was hopeful. I was like, all right, this is just going to be our new MO. We're just going to come back in the 3rd and 4th quarter and take things back over. But unfortunately, it did not go in our favor. And I get to say it again this week. Anders Carlson is still perfect as our field goal kicker. He went 2 for 2 this game. That is officially 5 out of 5 field goals for the season. There's nothing to be mad about that. He's looking solid, and I'm just loving seeing that. He's, maybe he can he can become the top scorer in Packers history in the next 15 years or whatever. So fingers crossed.
Just a few more games to go, Scott.
Just a few. Well, it's impossible to talk about this game without the lowlights. First off, Jordan Love was sacked 5 times this game. What happened to our awesome offensive line? It was just abysmal. And, to cap it all off, it looks like Bakhtiari is out for the season officially. That's just really awful. I just don't know what's going on. Why have we been throwing so much money at him all this time? I haven't been able to see any word on Jenkins yet as to whether he's going to make a return or not. But I mean, just in general, the offense just could not click for the entire game. It had spots here and there, but we were out-yarded 401 to 230 for this game. I mean, that's just clearly why we could not win this game. We just could not get the yards and move the chains. And the Packers are now ranked 27th in the league in total yards for the season with an average of only 280.8 yards per game. That needs to turn around like yesterday.
I think it will. I definitely think it will. It's been a rough, choppy start. 2-2 is not too bad. Second place, only because we lost to the Lions, but we'll turn that around as well. To me, it looked like a few of the Lions defensemen were actually trying to injure Aaron Jones and some other Packers players. I'm not saying they were trying to injure, but it appeared that way to me on TV. How about you?
I didn't see what you were looking at, but I mean, I can just speak generally. I don't think that injury is the goal. I mean, sure, there's players out there that would love to have that on their record of like, yeah, I knocked this player out of a game. I think that injury is not the goal, but hurting is the other players definitely is. I mean, and I don't mean hurt them, to the point where they can't play anymore, but to wear them down. I mean, that's the defense's job, right? Is to make it more difficult in subsequent plays, to force those kinds of things. And, being the one bringing that punishment as opposed to being the recipient of it, is not going to be nearly as detrimental to players' health for that game. But I'm not in the camp of saying that players are trying to cause injuries. I mean, remember what was it? Where there was bounties out there? Was that Sean Payton's thing?
Gate. That Saints bounty gate must have been real at some level,
right? And it reminds me of the days of Ndamukong Suh, who just clearly looked like he was trying to injure some people. But I don't know. I like to give benefit of the doubt, and maybe that's me wearing my rose-colored glasses. But
I'm just saying it looked that way on TV. There was more helmet-to-helmet contact than there should have been. And I am surprised Aaron Jones is not in the concussion protocol, to be quite frank.
Yeah, that is fair.
And I'm glad he's not.
Yeah, right. I was also disappointed in the flag for Quay Walker's unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. If you remember, he jumped the line to try to block a field goal. That gave the Lions a first down when they were on fourth down trying to kick a field goal. And that eventually led to the Lions' touchdown instead of a field goal. So that penalty literally cost us 4 points. And just what a stupid penalty. I mean, I understand wanting to be aggressive and getting excited and caught up in the moment, but you know the rules, man. You can't jump the line. And when I say that's not even the right word, he hurdled the line. And that's not allowed. It was a good penalty, and it didn't do any good anyway. It's not like he blocked it. I just hate to see those kind of stupid penalties like that.
I'm going to be with you on that. As far as it being a rule and the letter of the law, he may have broke that, but that type of thing that Quay did not look like unsportsmanlike conduct in any way, shape, or form.
Well, that's the rule. The rule is because it's not safe. The reason they do it is, you're wearing really expensive, thick, and hard cleats. And there are hands down there. You know what I mean? There's, you could land on a leg. You could land on, it's an injury issue. And doing that is not sportsmanlike. That's why it's that way. At least that's how I interpret the rule.
Speaking of borderline unsportsmanlike conduct, I was disappointed to see so many tickets sold to Lions fans. I mean, come on, Packers fans. You're better than that, or at least you should be. And thanks to that, St. Brown attempted to Lambeau leap into the arms of Lions fans, which ticks me off as a Packers fan. I mean, go ahead, jump in the stands at your terrible Ford Field, but not in another team's stadium. That's unsportsmanlike to me.
I will agree that there's a little bit of a, I don't know what's the right word. It's just uncouth to do something like that. And this sparked some pretty good debate in our community in terms of whether or not that should be allowed. And I'm going to kind of disagree with you, Wayne. I mean, as much as I did not like seeing all that blue and silver in the stands, I don't think that regulating that is the right way to go. If Packers fans aren't able to make the game, you should be able to sell the ticket to whomever you want to. And in a lot of cases, you don't know who you're selling it to, especially if you're putting it on online sites. Yeah, I mean, it's hard if you don't live in Green Bay. It's hard to make it to Thursday night games. I think Troy made that point in there that, because he's got a season ticket holder. I think he's a gold package holder. And it's difficult for people like me in Rockford and Troy in the Chicago suburbs to make it all the way to Lambeau on a work night. You know what I mean? It's difficult to do. And I mean, you're going to want to get the best bang for your buck. And if somebody is willing to pay that price, it doesn't matter, who's going to get it. But I mean, and I would imagine that Lambeau Field as a business doesn't care who's there as long as there's cheeks and seats. You know what I mean? That's I mean, clearly the Packers organization would like there to be more Packers fans, but when it comes down to money, as long as there's somebody there, I think that's what's important. And I think it would be really silly to start making regulations that say only Packers fans can get these tickets. There was an interesting point somebody made, and forgive me for not remembering who it was, about, those people that are selling them, why do they still get to keep those season tickets? You know what I mean? There's a line of hundreds of thousands of people. Maybe start passing those off to the next people instead of just filling the stadium with fans. I mean, Detroit's close, so it's not. They got to go all the way around the lake, though. It's not like they can just hop across the lake. Maybe fly. I don't know. Is there an airport in Green Bay? I don't even remember. As much as I hated seeing so many Lions fans there, I'm also not going to say that's why we lost the game.
Well, Sir Troy did have the great idea, as the gold package holder you talked about, that these games, especially for the Milwaukee gold package, should never be on a Thursday night. Heck, even Monday night's a bit much. Because I do understand the people that have to work and do all that. But are you saying apparently that all of those Detroit Lions fans that came to the game on Thursday night, they don't have jobs?
No, I'm not saying that.
It sounded like you were saying that.
I wasn't trying to imply that at all. They just they had more gumption to get there. So I blame the fans that are not willing to do that where the Detroit fans are. It just kind of shows where the Packers fandom lies right now, because we've been on a high of 30 years of Hall of Fame quarterbacks under center, and there's a bunch of question marks as to the future of the team right now, and it seems like there's a lot of bandwagon fans that are holding those season tickets, and I think we should be more upset about that. Like, how big of a fan are you if you're going to buy these tickets and then not go to the games? So,
well, it also makes you wonder how many season ticket holders, whether it's the gold package or the full season package, how many of them are actually ticket scalpers or ticket resellers, whatever you want to call them. They have no intention of going to a game, maybe one.
They're doing it just for business reasons.
Yeah, and I know there's not much that can be do about it. I think it was superfan Aaron that said, hey, it's your tickets, do with it whatever you want. But, earning the right to buy Packers seasons tickets, especially when there's like over 100,000 people on the list now, it kind of comes with some terms and agreements, like if you give them or sell them to somebody that causes a ruckus or whatever, I know you love that word, ruckus, is somebody that causes some trouble, you could lose your right. So it's kind of like buying a house in a neighborhood with a homeowners association. You just can't do whatever you want. And I understand the pros and the cons. There was an article at PackersTalk.com the other day talking about how, in their view, there does need to be a Packers season ticket revocation process. So I didn't write the article. I just saw the article. So
the question is, though, where do you draw the line?
I know. That's the almost impossible thing to do.
I mean, what if I want to go to a game with a buddy of mine that's a Detroit Lions fan? Now, see, I'm not going to not bring a Lions fan just because, we want to have as many Packers fans. I want to go enjoy the game with a friend. That's kind of like what football's all about.
I know, like Sir Troy, he brought a friend who was a Lions fan, and I totally understand that. Mm-hmm. So where you draw the line is the hardest part to sort out.
Yeah. Fair enough. Like I said, that was a good conversation, and it's an interesting point. I'm not sure where I land because I don't know what the answer is. And, at the end of the day, it really should be a split, right? I mean, everyone says, "Oh yeah, the home team should have the most fans," and naturally, that's the way what we expect. But if it's like if you were at a college game, or not a college game, that's a bad example because that's mostly just the local team. But like high school football teams, it's just fans, and they actually split, don't they? At high school games, they like have one stands are like one team's fans, and then the other stands are the other. And that's not going to work in the NFL. Clearly, it's a bigger business there, but it is what it is.
And one final point on that discussion, but feel free to continue it on in the Packers Fan Podcast Facebook community group at packerscommunity.com. But the fact that it's different for, like teams like the Packers, the Steelers, that have their season tickets sold out for decades and decades and decades, maybe even a century at this point. It's kind of different because I know they say, well, turnabout's fair play when Packers fans can go buy a bunch of Rams tickets or Cardinals tickets and invade their stadium. They are not fully sold out. They maybe a game or two, but they don't have a season ticket waiting list that's totally sold out. So they don't even have really hardcore fans to a great extent. So it's super easy. And trust me, from experience, it's super easy to get a Packers at Rams ticket, Packers at even Raiders, except for you pay the Las Vegas tax, and that's why I'm not going this week because seats on the 10-yard line, about 25 rows up, are like $800 a piece.
That's just nuts.
So
yeah, it's Vegas tax for sure.
It's just a thing. But how about that? Let's wrap that up, but continue on discussing it in the Packers community group. There's so many sides, and who knows if and when you can draw any line at all.
Absolutely. Well, let's see what the listeners had to say. We got quite a few calls this week. And if you would like to be a part of our upcoming podcast episodes, you can either call the PFP voicemail at 920-3PACK-GO or record your voice and email the recording to feedback@PackersFanPodcast.com. The deadline for your calls after Monday night's Packers-Raiders game will need to be sent in as soon as humanly possible because we usually record that. We usually record on Mondays, but we obviously can't with the game being on Monday. So you only have the one-day turnaround since we'll probably record it on Tuesday, preferably within a couple hours of the game ending if you can make it happen. Thank you very much. Let's kick things off with a voicemail from Alex.
Well, I promised to give the raw reaction, Dan Wood, and real disappointed that it took 2 full quarters and a halftime to get this team rolling, but 2-2 with the rookie QB, basically. I think I can live with that, fellas. On to next week and take the 11-day break and go play some football in Vegas, figure out the offensive line, and you're 2-2. Team's all right. Have a good one, guys.
Thanks so much, Alec. Yes, I do appreciate the raw reaction. Those are always fun. I can live with 2-2 as well. It's actually a lot better than I expected at this point in the season, so I'm not too upset with that. Would I have liked to win? Absolutely. But yeah, he makes a good point about the break. And the thing that kind of bugged me too about this game is, how they do the interviews with the coaches of the losing team coming out of halftime. I wasn't really impressed with LaFleur's comments coming out. He just seemed kind of nonchalant, making it sound like it was all on the players and nothing with the coach. I don't know. It just didn't sit right with me. I have a lot of respect for Matt LaFleur, but I don't know. Maybe he was just in a bad mood for obvious reasons, but I would have liked to have seen a little bit more class in that response. And it didn't feel like he was behind his team. It felt like he was mad at his team and didn't want to acknowledge any fault on his own, and that kind of bugged me.
And you're not the only person to notice that. It's brought up a little bit later in the listener feedback section. Stay tuned.
Oh.
Sorry, I'll make it quick. I was just wondering what you guys thought about that Bakhtiari issue. But hopefully, as the season progresses, they get better and better and better. And it's always good to be a Packers fan. Win or lose. Go Pack, go. Green and gold till I'm dead and cold.
All right. Art in Texas with a quick one for us. Yes, always good to be a Packers fan, win or lose, because we're Packers fans. It doesn't get any better than that. Thoughts on David Bakhtiari being out for a year? You mentioned it a little bit earlier, Scott. It's kind of the sunk cost bias. We just keep shoveling money at him and hoping for the best. And I feel terrible for David Bakhtiari going through all these injuries, never getting to really get 100%, at least not yet. And, best wishes for him and his wife and his child. I believe, maybe if he is out for this whole season, he'll come back next year and be totally fine and go out on a high note. But it's just a mess all the way around. But I think we do need to cut the cord as far as any additional money spent that direction.
Well, yeah, I mean, heart goes out to him for not being able to play, but it's also a little hard not to feel. It's a little hard to feel sorry for him. He's still getting paid. You know what I mean?
Right,
it's not like he's out on that. But I feel like with the whole Bakhtiari issue, it kind of puts to rest those the rumors about him not playing because they're were in stadiums that had turf and AstroTurf instead. He actually is really injured, guys, but it's just very frustrating that we've thrown so much money at a player that hasn't played more than half a game, maybe a full game this season. At least I didn't even hear his name mentioned too often. But I mean, you don't really hear offensive linemen's names read that much anyway, until they're absent. That's when you start hearing their names said on TV. But yeah, it's frustrating, and I don't. Again, I would like. Hopefully, at least Jenkins can get back in there because that side is just very, very weak at the moment, and he was sorely missed this week for sure.
Go Pack, go! This is Megan. I think this is a year of growth. There are going to be growing pains for sure. It's hard to see flicks of amazingness, and then not get stuck in believing that it's going to be like that every single play of every single drive of every single game, because it's the NFL. There are a lot of really good teams, and there are going to be games that don't go our way. I give the guys a lot of credit for continuing to push through. They really did battle to the end, tried for a comeback, and I mean, that Jordan Love touchdown was pretty sweet, as was the throw to Jaden Reed. But it would be nice to not be playing from behind, be a little more proactive and start faster rather than reactive and playing catch up. But I know it's the penalty on Clay. I still don't quite understand that. I watched the replay several times and he just jumped up. It didn't even look like he really touched anyone or hurt anyone. So that was interesting and annoying to me. But at the end of the day, we kind of lost that game. I mean, that would have given us a better chance. They wouldn't have scored the touchdown, but we still got ourselves in that position, if that makes sense. So hopefully we can learn from this and really come back stronger with Vegas, start faster, come together as a team, have a really good week of practice. I hope they still believe in themselves. I still fully believe in Jordan Love. I think that they need to redesign some of their game plan and scheme ideas. It's not going to be enough to just try the same thing over and over again week after week and hope it works. They have to really get creative and work with what they have, which is unfortunately a lot of injured players. My last thoughts are, I don't know why A.J. Dillon has so little production this year. It's disappointing, but I also don't really get what their goal is. I just feel and I know they couldn't get anything going. If they had a little bit of momentum and had some at least drives that made it a couple yards, I don't know. I felt we were punting all game long. But you said we brought Watson and Jonesy back and we hardly really saw them. I don't know if they were just being super conservative with the use of them or what, but it was I guess we would have seen them had they been doing better on offense, probably, because they would have been making plays. But I just don't really get. I know I talked about this last year. I think Devontae said something "Don't be cute." I don't know if they're trying to be so creative and so something the other team can't expect at all what they're doing, but it's not working. A lot of you know that I bake a lot of bread. I bake Packer bread, green and gold sourdough. It's not working. It's whatever I'm trying to do and trying to come up with something new and be creative and artsy and unique. If it's not working, I just go back to the very basics. very basics, fundamentals of what I'm doing, and just kind of like reset, start fresh. I feel like they should do that. They should just like football, just like at its simple level, not try to do all these crazy like toss to multiple people. And I was really sad to see Matt so upset after the game, but like, I mean, he always said it starts with him, so come on, let's go, boys.
Hey, thanks, Megan. I love the the analogy with the bread. That's amazing, and I got to get some of that bread one of these times. There's a lot to unpack in her message. I am still on the Jordan Love bandwagon. I still believe in him. I think he is a solid fundamental quarterback, which is frustrating to see a bunch of the play calling, like she's saying, be on these trick plays that just aren't working. Those are things that much more seasoned teams should be trying instead of that. And it really bums me out to see all of the negativity thrown on Twitter and just social media in general about how Jordan Love sucks and all this kind of stuff. I don't think he sucks. Did he throw several passes overthrown? Yes. It was his first night game, guys, in the NFL. First time he had way more, just how many people are watching that game? It's just nuts. I think the only game that probably had more fans this week was the Kansas City game, but that's for a completely different reason that we're not going to talk about this week. I'm still in the camp that he's doing pretty solid considering the circumstances. Unfortunately, it's going to be another night game coming up, which is not going to be helpful. But he got that first one out of his system, and I'd love to see him just capitalize and come out the gate swinging this week. I agree with needing a fast start in Vegas, although we had a fast start this game as well. We got, sure it was only a field goal, but we had an interception that gave us points first, and then we got the ball started in the second half, which gave them an interception. So it's just, it's kind of crazy there. And I'm also bummed about Dylan's production. I don't remember hearing his name. Doesn't mean it didn't happen. I'm furiously taking notes throughout the game, but she makes a good point. Nothing could get going until that 86-yard drive for 6. And we didn't even talk about Jordan Love's, running one in as well. That was really cool to see. And yeah, Megan clearly saw that Matt was upset about the game too. I just wish he had handled that a little bit better. What are your thoughts, Wayne?
I don't know what Matt was thinking. Obviously, we're not mind readers.
Yeah.
Maybe anything's possible. He could have been thinking about, oh, great, now all of social media is going to be all over Joe Barry again, and now I'm going to have to address it. Who knows what's going to go on, but I really would like some sourdough bread with my dinner tonight. But and when Megan says we need a fast start in Vegas, I think she means an even faster start.
Well, yeah, clearly, yeah.
And, A.J. Dillon's production, it's mind-boggling, and I don't think much of it is due to A.J. Dillon. Part of it is the offensive line injured, but we, just like part of last year, we're giving up on the run so quickly. Come on.
I don't know why. The running game was working great. I mean, granted, Jones was out last week. Dillon picked up the slack a little bit. He had a better day than Jones did this week. But where's that 1-2 punch that we were talking about with those guys? Why are we relying so much on Jordan Love? I understand that he is our guy now, but quit trying to make him the next Rodgers right away. He needs time to gel in there and even those play calls out a little bit more and get some running going. It's got to be the name of the game. It's just very frustrating that we were building up some momentum with those kind of play calls, and where is it now? Now we're doing flea flickers and lateral passes. What? Why?
And home run ball.
What's my favorite kind of football, Wayne?
Fundamental
football.
And Megan echoed that very well.
Yeah,
she's ready for that, which will bring points. Dink and dunk down the field. Let's get back to the listener line at +1 920 3-pack go.
Hey, Scott and Wayne. This is Garrett. I can't say that I'm angry about the results of last night's game, but I am very disappointed. I would say that first and foremost, we've got to remember we've got a lot of guys that are out injured. We have a very, very young team. But with all that being said, we still should be winning games and still be competitive. And last night was not anywhere close to being a competitive game. They are starting way too slow. I feel like getting away from running the ball does not help Love whatsoever. The pocket was just collapsing so much around him last night. He just didn't stand a chance. And some of the play calling I questioned very, very much when it comes to having him hold the ball as long as he did. They got to find plays to get the ball out faster. And it's just one of those growing pains that we're going to have to deal with. I understand that. But all in all, I expect more from these guys, especially the veterans on defense. I know they were out there for a lot on the field, but man, there were times where I was like, okay, the very beginning drive where they get an interception, I thought, okay, here we go. These guys are going to step up. Unfortunately, the offense could only get 3, and then after that, it seemed like somebody just pushed a button and said, let's just play soft. So I hope they can figure this stuff out. This one hurts a little bit more than I thought. It was a conference game. We needed that game. Let's just hope we can go back and pay them back when it comes on Thanksgiving, that we can pull off another Thanksgiving miracle against them. Because I know all of America is going to be rooting for Detroit from here on out. So I guess we're going to be the underdogs. I'm out.
Great to hear from you, Garrett. So many great points in your call. Not really angry about the loss, just disappointed. And yeah, after a day, I was pretty angry the first night, but then it slept on it. Yeah, just disappointed. And again, we're starting way too slow, and the pocket is just collapsing around Jordan Love way too quickly. The poor guy, there's not many touchdown passes he can throw when he's on his back.
Exactly. Yeah, it was. I like what he said about not being angry. I mean, it's hard to be angry. I mean, I feel like people that are not Packers fans are more angry about Jordan Love than Packers fans, which is weird. Like, why? I don't get it. He makes a good point though about the rest of the country is pretty much cheering for Detroit. I think that everybody's ready for Detroit to be significant again. It's been a long time.
It's been a long time.
That probably came out harsher than I intended it to, but I feel like Detroit's been at the bottom of the rankings for quite a while. They've had pockets of greatness, and that's not coming. That's not me saying, hey, the Packers always win. No, that's not what I'm saying. But it's just they had a rough go. They had like a winless season a few seasons ago, didn't they? Mm-hmm. But they used to be dominant back in the Barry Sanders days, man. It was awesome. But yeah, that pocket was a completely different pocket than it was last week. I feel like Love had so much time last against the Saints, and this time he was just swallowed up. 5 sacks in one game is brutal, man. I mean, it's going to happen to every player now and then, right? I just hope that this trend doesn't continue.
Absolutely not. And we need to get our defense off the field, get them some rest. Mm-hmm. That's a big task to go into this coming game in Las Vegas. Still about a week away from now, but it'll be here before you know it.
Hey, guys, this is Mark from New Lisbon. Friday morning after the game. There's disappointing losses, like the Atlanta game when you lose by 1, but then there's losses that are just concerning. They're just almost like a statement. I mean, Detroit played physical football. They won the game in the trenches. Their offensive line dominated our defensive line, and their defensive line dominated our offensive line. We need Bakhtiari and Jenkins on the field because we couldn't run the ball. And because we couldn't run the ball, I think we only ran it 12 times, our defense was on the field the whole game. So it was pretty eye-opening. Detroit is clearly the better team. And I think the question for the Packers is, are they just a finesse team? Because they get out physical. Atlanta did it. They ran for 200 against us. So we have to fix the run defense. I think just improving our tackling would be helpful. But I think we rotate too many guys in. Gary needs to be on the field a lot. I understand the injury thing. But on the biggest play, I believe on on 3rd and 3 when the Lions had it and we were down 10. Clark and Gary weren't even on the field. So just a lot of concerns. I did pick 3 players that I thought had a good game, believe it or not. Romeo Dobbs was a stud. I think he had 9 catches for almost 100 yards. Quay Walker, say what you want about the penalty, had 19 tackles. He broke his own record this year, 19 tackles. And then Watson, it was nice to see him on the field getting a touchdown. So it's one game. I think way too many Pack fans are overreacting, but, it couldn't have been uglier the first half, and it was nice to see that we made a comeback. But I still have faith in this team. I think LaFleur's a really good coach, and I think Jordan Love is on his way to becoming a really good quarterback. It's just going to take a little time. We knew this was a young team. And, with young teams, you're going to have games like this, unfortunately, as painful as they were to watch. But I'm going to Vegas to see the Packers play the Raiders, and I think they're going to bounce back. So go Pack, go. Thanks for taking my call.
Thanks so much, Mark. Go Pack, go indeed. I'm going to sound like a complete hypocrite because I agree that it was a concerning loss. This is coming after our last call where I said can't be mad about it, but I kind of agree in both ways. I know that sounds crazy, but it's concerning it's concerning less because of the play and more because of the play calling. Oh. I'm more frustrating with what we've been doing from the coaching side more than the player side, because I just think that that could have been fixed with some better play calling. I don't know about the rotations. I got to admit, I don't pay attention to those rotations as closely as Mark does. But that's an interesting point that, why wasn't Gary out there on those key plays? All I can think of is injuries. They're like, we just can't, we can't risk any more injuries just because of how stacked those are right now. And lastly, I am completely jealous that you're getting to go to Vegas for that game. Vegas would be a really cool place to go see an NFL game. Just to see what they do. There's got to be so much showmanship. Like, imagine the halftime show at a Vegas game. There's got to be some huge act there, right? If you're paying $800 a ticket, you better get something good.
Something. And maybe the price of the tickets being that high was, we were looking for, 4 seats altogether, 2 next to that. But my kids and their spouses are definitely going, and they're excited. They're going to do other Vegas-y things while they're there, in addition to watching the game. So it's going to be a fun time for them to all hang out, and I'll watch it on TV and all that good stuff. I wonder about Mark's question about whether or not the Packers are a finesse team, and that's what cost us against the last 2 opponents.
That's a really interesting point. I've not considered that, but he could be right. And unfortunately, I don't like that. I don't like being a finesse team.
Well, what if we're good at it?
Well, if we're good at it, we're sitting at 500 right now, Wayne. So
I'm saying if we get good at it.
I would rather be good at being good at it in the trenches, like the Lions were this week. We need to be a more physical team. And that's coming from a guy that is clearly out of shape and can't do what these players are doing. They're doing it leaps and bounds better than I ever could. But I would much rather be a nose to the grindstone team than a dance around and finesse. But he made a really good point. I just hope he's wrong.
Wow. Yeah, we'll definitely keep an eye on that, as well as maybe watching a little bit closer to the player rotations. I think if we can get our defense off the field a little bit quicker, spend more time on offense, we won't need to do as many rotations. But
just get those turnovers, and then that makes it a lot easier.
Well, why not? Let's see a bunch of them this week. Going back to the listener line. Ooh, this one came in at feedback@PackersFanPodcast.com via audio file.
Go, 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 go. Go, Pack, go, 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 go! Boy, was that ugly. UGLY, they ain't got no alibi. It was ugly. Oh, boy, that's ugly. I don't know what Matt LaFleur's game plan was going into this game, because they knew they were going to be facing a very stout and aggressive pass rush, especially with Aiden Hutchinson on the other side of the ball. But yet, he still called a very pass-heavy offense. 36 pass plays to 12 run plays, and 2 of those run plays were Love scrambles. So really, it's 38-10 in favor of the pass rush, or of the pass play. And the only thing that does is when you don't complete a pass, the clock stops, which means that defense is going to be out there longer. The time of possession advantage was out of this world. 37 minutes and 58 seconds to 22 minutes and 2 seconds. That means the Lions possessed the ball an additional 16 minutes. They had the ball over a quarter longer than the Packers did. And that is just inexcusable. I mean, I understand Jones was just coming off of an injury. Watson was coming off of an injury. So I guess perhaps they were on a pitch count. They seemed fine in pregame warm-ups, but, we're not on the medical staff, so I don't want to beat that one too hard. The field conditions are kind of concerning, but I don't know. That might be more of a thing of this time of year because, it's hotter during the day and it cools down really fast, so sometimes you get condensation on the field there. Thursday night games, these need to stop. We see the product on the field, time in and time out. It's not fair to the players at all. Heck, it's not even fair to the fans. And that kind of goes into why we saw so much blue on the field. See, these games were gold package games, and these were people that probably live in the Milwaukee area. That's a 3-hour drive to Green Bay. And you're expecting these guys, these fans, to drive 3 hours to Green Bay on a Thursday night and then drive back and then go to the work the next day or take days off from work. That's just not fair. It's no wonder why we saw so much blue in the stands, and we could always hear "Let's go Lions," but that was just ugly. Just broke my heart. What else broke my heart? Musgrave. He was doing a good game, having a great game, and then went out with a concussion. And on that note, I also heard that offensive lineman John Runyon was seen on Friday in a walking boot, so that's not a good sign. Now, I don't mean to beat a dead horse, but, we're all very passionate fans, so sometimes you got to take the passion out of it and look at the data. And I did that for the first 4 games. Talk about not playing complimentary football. So far this season, 132 pass plays, 91 running plays. I did the math on that. That's a 69% passing rating. That is nowhere near complimentary football. I know we've had injuries, but that's no reason to abandon the run completely. 69% pass plays this season so far. I don't understand it. The offensive play calling just seems to have been very disjointed. A lot of home run ball, not utilizing their best assets. Jones, Watson. I don't think I've even seen a jet sweep yet this season. And remember Watson, that one play when he just turned on the jets after that jet sweep, gone to the house. I just don't understand why they're not using that. They have that in their pocket and they're not even using it. But anyways, on to Las Vegas, baby. Vegas, baby. I think this is going to be a get-right game. The Packers will have had 11 days off, and the Raiders' D is not good at all. They're ranking 30th in the NFL, and their offense is only averaging 15 points a game. That bodes very well for us. I see a high-scoring game for the Packers. With all that time off, hopefully they don't come off sluggish like they sometimes do, but I think they're going to have something to prove. I'm calling for a Green Bay Packer win, 31-17. Go, 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 Pack, go!
Ladies and gentlemen, Captain Pack Sparrow. Go Pack, go indeed. Ugly and time of possession inexcusable. That's ugly. And the data showing that we're doing 69% passing plays and abandoning the run. That's ugly as well. Right, Scott?
It really is. I love his little "we ain't got no alibi" chant. But yeah, I mean,
scary.
Those numbers have been brutal. I mean, I talked about them getting out-yarded this week. You can't win games if the other team is almost doubling your yardage, or playing 10 minutes more of football than you are. It's just very frustrating. I don't know how I feel about Thursday night games. I kind of like having football in the middle of the week, but I will agree it gets kind of frustrating when, I got to stay up and watch a game on Thursday. I just like my football being on Sunday, but the games that I have to watch. You know what I mean? Like I like having some football on that actually matters throughout the week. But I like having the freedom of being able to watch it whenever you want to. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean. But Thursday night games need to just go away. It's just
You think so?
Yeah.
Just be done with them?
Be done with them all together. I mean, I wouldn't even want just Thursdays to be like whoever's winless plays on Thursday nights, for the rest of the season. I don't even want that.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
But Musgrave, concussion protocol, Runyon in a walking boot, were the walking wounded. I didn't like the sound of this super early bye week, but Scott, it's starting to look pretty good right now.
Yeah, we were definitely upset about that at the beginning of the season, but I'm thankful for it now for sure because, man, if we could get like half of those injured players healthy, it would just be a great boon for us. So, fingers crossed that happens.
Especially after Vegas potentially being a get-right game for the Packers. Well said, Dan. I like that.
Get right. Well, thanks so much for all the calls, everybody. We do also have some emails. First one, or maybe this is the older one. This is the only one. Comes from CCR in Green Bay, Wisconsin. And they say, what a disappointing game. Again, we really need to work on starting strong and stopping the opposition during games. It's been really difficult to watch the past 2 weeks, and it's ridiculous that we allow David Montgomery to score 3 touchdowns in one game. Something needs to happen to this coaching staff. But no matter what, go Pack, go, bleed green and gold till dead and cold. Caleb, Kathy, and Roy Fisher. Thanks so much for the email, guys. Appreciate it each and every week.
Do you think something needs to happen to our coaching staff?
No. What do you mean? Like they get punished, or what are you talking about? They go and get flogged in front of all the Packers shareholders.
They have to play Madden as the Bears? No.
Yeah, let's do that.
I think he's alluding to all the chatter that comes up all the time about Joe Barry needing to be fired. I don't want anybody to lose their job. And at this point, what good would it do? This is, I think, the third defensive coordinator since I've been doing the podcast where people are calling for their heads. And I think the players need to make plays.
I agree. But the coaches also need to make right calls.
Right. It's a little bit of everything. That's why it's called teamwork.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, on to our weekly poll question, which we post in our Facebook group at PackersCommunity.com, as well as on X, that Scott likes to still call Twitter, at Packers Fan Pod. Question is, with a few extra days to recover, regroup, and refocus, what do you expect to see from the Packers in Vegas? Do you expect to see a convincing win? Maybe we'll have a come-from-behind victory. Heck, maybe this game will even end in a tie. Or, unfortunately, do you think it's going to be a loss?
I have my own. Can I make my own prediction? That's not one of these. I'll pick one. If I have to pick one, I'll say we'll have a come from behind victory. But I think it'll be the other way around. I think it will be the Raiders will have a comeback attempt. I think we're going to dominate, and then we're going to give up, or not give up, but we're going to allow them to catch up, but still come out ahead at the very end. So that's my prediction.
Interesting. And I'm going to go with, we're going to have a convincing win. So be watching next Monday night. I think maybe this game will be shown on ABC as well as just ESPN here in the States.
That's what I read. So yeah, fingers crossed.
More people get to see it. That'll be even more glorious. The votes that came in after combining Facebook and X, 55% are on the train of the convincing win. I love to see that. 21%, believe it or not, say it's going to be a loss. 20% are with you, Scott, a come-from-behind victory. And 4% think there's a chance this could even end in a tie. That's how evenly matched we are with the Raiders.
Man, a tie. I don't remember the last time we had a tie with the Packers. It's been a while.
It wasn't all that long ago, but not long enough.
Yeah, I hear you. All right, we've got one comment on the poll from the Packers Fan Podcast Facebook group. Dan Dowler says that he was hoping for a write-in option of, quote, a change in scheme from pass-heavy to run-heavy. Yeah, I mean, I've been calling for that for how long now? How long have I been calling for that, Wayne?
A while. I've lost track. But maybe this is the week it'll happen.
Hopefully.
And
Fingers crossed.
There's a lot of other great conversations happening in the Facebook group unrelated to the poll question. And one that really stood out was Dan Dyler again. He shared an article stating how we've probably seen the last of David Bakhtiari this season. I don't know if there's been official word, but it's about as close to official as you can get, which is unfortunate. So all of these things and a lot of others are all happening in the group right now. Come check them all out, join in. And as always, your calls, emails, comments, and support are a big part of the Packers Fan Podcast. So thank you.
And remember to be a part of the Packers Fan Podcast Facebook community and be part of that conversation over at packerscommunity.com.
And now, time to look to the future, Scott, because your 2-2 Green Bay Packers head to the sinfully expensive city of Las Vegas to play the 1-3 Raiders Monday, October 8th at 7:15 p.m. Central Time. To say we haven't played the Oakland, Los Angeles, Oakland again, and Las Vegas Raiders very often is an understatement, because all time the Packers lead the series 9-5. And what's interesting is those 5 Packers losses to the Raiders were all consecutive back in the 70s and 80s. Revenge for us beating them in Super Bowl II, I suppose. The Packers have won all the matchups since 1990, which is a good thing.
That's quite a streak.
Yeah, even if we've only played, 14 times, that's still a streak. As far as memorable games between these two teams, for me, nothing is more memorable than the game in 2003 in Oakland, just after Brett Favre's father, Irv, passed away and Favre played, and almost everything landed in Favre's and the Packers' favor that night. Brett threw for 399 yards and 4 touchdowns. Green Bay won the game 41-7. And potentially just as amazing, Scott, was seeing the huge outpouring of love and support from Raiders Nation that night.
Uncharacteristic support.
They have hearts. They do.
Yeah.
It was just good to
I'm not
see.
knocking them too bad, but
No.
Raiders fans are tend to be pretty up there with Philly fans in terms of aggressiveness.
Yeah. So for Brett Favre and Irv, they brought out the love. And this coming game, although it's indoors in Vegas, the Raiders, much like the Arizona Cardinals, they play on a natural grass field. So it can be done, people. Oh, and Scott, have you heard the news that former Packer Davante Adams is now on the Vegas Raiders?
I'm sure we'll hear all about that this week for sure. This is actually going to be the first time these two teams face off since the Packers lost Davante Adams in 2022. And I did a little bit of digging and found out that, part of that trade did get us picks that landed us Quay Walker and Christian Watson. So as much as it does stink to lose Davante Adams, we did okay. I'm real happy with Quay Walker particularly, but the last matchup between these two teams was October 20th, 2019, which that time actually is very special to me because that is the first time I held a video game convention with my podcast, The Gaming Outsider, and the Packers did win that game 42-24 at home. Now let's just see if they can do it on the road.
Yes, please. Well, how can they potentially do that?
Well, I've got my keys to a Packers victory over the Las Vegas Raiders, Wayne. First off, strategy number 1 is capitalize on the extra days of rest. Notice I said days, not day, because this is a Monday night game and we have a sizable advantage in terms of time off, especially since the Packers played on Thursday this past week, giving them 4 extra days of rest on top of the normal week. This is beneficial for our injured players for sure, but this is also no time to rest on their laurels. If anything, the coaching staff should focus on fixing whatever is going on with the offensive line and getting back to fundamentals, which is apparently my favorite saying on this podcast, fundamental football. Second strategy, I think that the secondary's focus should be the secondary should be prepared for turnover opportunities. The Packers defense is stronger against the pass than against the run, in my opinion, which could be a very good thing for us this week. Last week, the Raiders had multiple turnovers from interceptions, which has been a solid strength for us this year so far. Still, that could be a different story if Garoppolo is back under center, but I'd still love to see more of that action this week, just not only in the opening drive of the game. And thirdly, I think that the Packers should be able to take advantage of the lack of home field advantage. I know what you're saying. but they're playing in Vegas. This is, the home of the Raiders. I'm not going to say that we lost because all the Lions fans at Lambeau this week, but it definitely didn't help. And with that said, the Raiders are in Vegas now. That means there's a good possibility that Packers fans could actually outnumber Raiders fans, considering it's, Vegas. Vegas is full of people traveling and visiting, and it could be any fans. And a lot of those Raiders fans are not in Nevada; they're in California. So it's kind of it's going to feel kind of like a 2 away games. Both teams are away. But I think it could be a huge advantage. I think that the Packers should feed off the crowd, get energized, and destroy them at air quote home. And there you have it.
Ooh, I was not expecting that for one of the strategies, but I love all of them. And yeah, they need to take it to heart, and let's get back on the winning ways, because how did things go in the 2023 season wager fund for the game against the Lions the other day?
Well, let's see, Wayne. I predicted that the Lions were going to win 24-21. That wound up being a differential of 14 points because the Lions did, in fact, win 34-17. Wayne, you picked the Packers to win 24-21.
Duh.
And so the differential doesn't really matter. And thankfully, that gave me an extra point. So there was some silver lining. Even though we did have the loss, I get to be back on top at least for another week. So that's a good thing. As far as the listeners go, Garrett, let's see. I went down through here and checked the differential. We only had 2 people that picked the Lions to win. That was David Newman and Brett Connor. Brett Connor had a differential of 14, and David Newman had a differential of 10. So that means David Newman is the only one on the list right now in first place with 3 wins out of 4 games. So he's doing quite well. Did we not have a winner for one game? I don't remember how did I mess that up? But
I think it was the game where we all picked the Packers to win, and we didn't.
Oh, that's what it was. But more importantly, Wayne, the score between you and I is now Wayne with 1 point and Scott with 2 points, and that feels pretty good. And on top of that, Wayne, I really felt good to come back from behind and beat you on fantasy football this week because
that was not supposed to happen. I think it predicted I had like a 70% chance of winning near the end of the morning games.
Yep.
And then it all went to heck.
Christian McCaffrey and the Dallas defense helped me out and wound up being the top scorer for the week. You were the number 2 scorer of the week, and it always sucks when you're the number 2, get beat, and you have to play against the number 1 guy in the week. But that was a crazy
Congratulations on all of your victories over me this week at the expense of the Packers losing.
I felt bad, so I did go ahead and pick the Packers to win this week. I'm going to say, I actually have this backwards. I'm going to say Packers 24 and Raiders 20 is going to be my prediction. And I think that the Packers will win this one. I think the Raiders are, they'll probably have Garoppolo back, but even with him, I think that I think the Packers stand a better chance. And last week I said that, Love was not going to do well because it was going to be his first night under the bright lights. He's got that one under his belt. I think he's going to bounce back and be much more crisp with his passes and more accurate. So, yeah, 24-20. How about you?
So Jordan Love is a wily veteran now in the night.
Yeah, right.
It's the primetime action. I love that because I'm thinking it's going to be Garoppolo back. Could be a close game. Packers 21, Raiders 18. Though I'm hoping it's whoever that quarterback was yesterday, O'Connell, because, he could be a lot of fun for our defense.
Yeah, but totally. We'll not that I wish ill will on Garoppolo, but I would like if he kind of set out this game. So
he wants to be totally healthy and let O'Connell get some reps.
Yep. Let's see what the listeners said for their predictions for Week 5 of the Packers Fan Podcast Wager of Fun. Alex predicted Green Bay winning 38-24. Brett, Green Bay 24-21. Marty, Green Bay 21-14. Jacob said Green Bay 28-20.
Oh, okay. Very close. And Garrett also says Packers 24, Vegas 21. I love this train of all the Packers victories. And you heard Dan Dyler earlier calling for a huge victory. Packers 31, Vegas 17. And Jay going with Packers 24, Vegas 17. Victory is going to be oh so sweet. Best of luck to everybody. The NFC North, the Lions are 3-1. The Packers are 2-2 for now. The Vikings are 1-3. Somehow they won a game. That was frustrating. And the Bears are 0-4. My hopes and dreams for an 0-17 season are still in place, Scott. This is beautiful. It's so much fun.
It's really hard not to laugh because I thought they had that game in the bag. Justin Fields looked great, and I was like, wow, they're maybe they're going to turn this season around, and this is going to be a good thing. And then it just, oh my goodness, I literally laughed at that interception. It was hilarious. It was really funny.
It really is funny, especially with all of that off-season smack talk.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Oh man.
Let's talk about some other happenings that caught our eye in the NFL this week. First off, for me, Justin Herbert. How about him fracturing his finger on his non-throwing arm, and he's just not expected to miss any play time? What kind of grit is that you're going to fracture a finger and still play? I just can't even get over that. I thought that was pretty cool.
That is unusual indeed. And how about the Buffalo Bills? It looks like they may have finally got back on track this season, beating the Dolphins in convincing fashion. So many wonderful touchdowns. Will this be the way teams can try to beat the Dolphins going forward? And the best part of that entire game was not necessarily them beating the Dolphins, who should have saved some of their points from last week and carried them over. But how about that amazingly loud Buffalo Bills crowd?
Yeah, it was pretty insane. And I know my wife was pretty happy because she's got Josh Allen on her team, and that won the game for her. Her first victory of the year.
Oh, nice.
Being back in our league. So kudos to my wife, Stephanie, on that one for sure. I do want to quickly remind everybody about my other podcast, The Gaming Outsider, that releases a new episode every Wednesday. This week, it's just my co-host, Alyssa, and I, and we are doing our monthly ritual of answering video game-related questions from the community. I also played a brand new 8-bit game called Project Blue. Yes, you can literally play it on the original NES. Brand new game. But I've been playing it on Xbox. They actually have a digital version of it as well. And also, as I mentioned above, we are hosting our second video game convention on Saturday, October 14th in Rockford, Illinois. We are calling it the Rock River Valley Video Game Convention, or R2V2 for short. We've got John St. John, the voice of Duke Nukem, coming. We've got vendors selling retro video games and collectibles. We got VR. We got raffle prizes. It's going to be a blast. And if you would like to read more about it, head over to thegamingoutsider.com/R2V2, and you can actually pre-purchase tickets for $3 off. And I would love to meet some of you in person if you could make it.
That is fantastic. I can't believe it's just a week and a half away at this point.
I know, it's crazy. And also, when I actually didn't get a chance to tell you this, we have a second guest coming as well. The pinball legend himself, Roger Sharp, is going to be making an appearance at the convention. So now you got to get out here and come to the convention.
I wish I could.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Details at thegamingoutsider.com, you say?
Yes, sir.
Thank you so very much for giving back to your Packers Fan Podcast via Patreon. We really do appreciate it. Details for becoming a patron, as well as other ways you can give back to the show. Again, they're all at packersfanpodcast.com/giveback. And with that, Dan Dyler, Captain Pack Sparrow, go Pack go. And thank you, Captain, for your Jim Ringo level support of the Packers Fan Podcast. And Jay Walters, saw that picture of you with Sir Troy at the game. Very cool indeed. Thanks again, and go Pack Go for your Aaron Rodgers level patronage of the old PFP. And if you make it out to Vegas, have fun at that game as well. But I don't know how many in a row you're going to try to go to.
Also, thank yous and go Pack goes to our legendary Brett Favre level supporters, Miguel Ramirez from the Opposites Attract podcast and Colm Nolan from Ireland. Also, Curly Lambeau level go Pack goes and thank yous to Joe Christensen, Hank Davis from the TPE Network. I really appreciate all the support you guys got. If you would like to give back to the show, maybe even become a patron of the old PFP, check out details at packersfanpodcast.com/giveback. As a reminder, we are the unofficial Packers Fan Podcast, not affiliated with the NFL or the Green Bay Packers, but if you could, drop a line to them and let them know we'd love to be. That'd be great. Also, please follow the Packers Fan Podcast where you listen to your podcast, and remember to tell your friends about the Packers Fan Podcast. That's a lot of Packers Fan Podcasts in one sentence. Thanks so much, everybody, and we love you.
And go ahead and get yourselves ready. You know, Halloween's coming up. Just remind every trick-or-treater that comes to the door, hey, listen to the Packers Fan Podcast and follow us on X that Scott calls Twitter, at Packers Fan Pod. Follow Scott there, at GoCastScott. Follow me, at Wayne Henderson. And as we all get ready to watch the Packers take on Vegas, here's Patreon supporter Dan Dyler, a.k.a. Pack Sparrow, to make sure that we're ready to go Pack, go.
All right, this is Dan, a.k.a. Pack Sparrow, and Brett.
Coming in from Tottenham, all the way from London, England. And this is the Go Pack Go.
Go, 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 go.
Go Pack Go!